Hello, YouTube. My name is Plazukas, and today is going to be a discussion on Marvel Snap and the balance adjustments that the second dinner team has been making. I have not technically followed the development team that closely up until recently, going into obviously Worlds being one of the 206 finalists for the Worlds, which is going to happen on November 9th, I believe. And I just want to talk about perception versus reality. The perception is that the balance team at Marvel Snap Second Dinner has changed within the past year. There was apparently a shift in hiring, and then potentially there might have been some different shifting of management. I'm not even sure if Ben Brode has been part of the balance team and then decided that, marketing, which is what he used to do in Hearthstone at the tail end, was more important for driving new players or to continue to get people excited. He is a hype, kind of person within the company, very valuable asset. He was in Hearthstone. He still is in Marvel Snap, even though some can, consider him cringy or creepy in some cases with him being older and doing all of his little bits and stuff like that. I mean, for me, I think that is true because there was a time in this game where tech was king, where if you put in tech, which was costed relatively cheaply compared to what you used to get, it would be a very effective to a lot of the larger end scalability issues with synergy decks and combo decks. And I think that was a really good, happy balance, considering that some of these numbers would get to the thousands or hundreds, which seemed to be a bit higher than most decks could actually achieve. And I was never upset about that because I never played the net decks. I never played the decks that, were hurt by tech decks or that had issues competing with synergy decks because I would just use other means, other options to take away their synergy so we could have a fair game. And for me, that provided a lot more agency when I played games. And it just seems like now, with this focus on synergy combo decks, it's very stale. You literally now, more than ever, are being pigeonholed into certain decks, and if you do not play them, you are going to be left out. And I think this speaks to the broader aspect of what they're trying to do in Second Dinner, and I think this is an issue. Not from a monetary perspective, because I think it actually makes them more successful if they have a player base, a casual player base, and I'm not even sure what their numbers are. Ultimately, you have an audience that is divided. You have the very high skilled competitive players in this game that have been playing since day one and that want tech options, that want to be able to disrupt players, patterns and feel like they understand the card games and stuff like that. Then you have the casual, which doesn't care about that and predominantly will use synergy decks and will buy new cards for that purpose. And I think this speaks to their strategy. I think a year ago, 6 months ago, a year and a half ago, there was an issue with people spending money in the game. I think Shang-Chi and many other tech options basically didn't feel like it was really warranted to buy anything because you could just answer everything with Shang-Chi, just have a destroy deck, and Shang-Chi actually benefits that aspect too to power up Null. And a lot of people in the casual space were just using that. And with more recent cards being released and trying to strengthen those archetypes, whether it be destroy, whether it be move, whether it be discard, whether it be cerebro, whether it be any of the other cards, right? I think what Second Dinner is trying to do is incentivize each and every one of these season passes, each and every one of these cards that come out each week. and trying to get the casual audience to actually spend money now that the tech cards will not actually kill them specifically, and they can have so and so, quote unquote, fun for the time that they spend on a game week to week, which is not even nearly as much as some of the competitive people do. Is that a problem? No, but there are many card games that have done this that have been met with backlash from the community. And I'm not saying that competitive people or content creation is going to change the landscape of Marvel Snap. I'm sure Marvel Snap will be successful without the competitive people, without the content creators promoting or supporting the game. Like, I think the game will survive in perpetuity because it's a Marvel game, because it's a well-designed game as far as just being fun for pick-up play and it being very quick and mobile-centric. Like, the game has so many good qualities and is probably one of the best mobile games ever made, in my personal opinion. But as far as I'm concerned, it's less competitive. It's less fun because now you kind of know what the top decks are going to be and you can try to tech around them, but that's not really the goal of the current meta. The meta is to kind of get lucky, add some randomness to the decks in hopes that your mirror matches will scale better. Mirage, stuff like that. You get an extra +2 on a mirror match. And there are still things that you can tech for, clearly, and there are certain decks that benefit more from that tech than others do. And I think that imbalance is going to be felt even more than it used to be felt, and that scares me for what high end play is going to look like in the future. We have one more OTA before Worlds, but I'm betting that Move will represent at least 20%, if not more, of the decks in some fashion. And the reality is you don't even need a full move package in order for it to be effective. So you can have whatever the Human Torch needs in order for you to be consistent with that. And then you can add tech options and other disruptive options in that to essentially win the game. Because Human Torch, and then if you're able to get another copy of Human Torch when it's already been buffed, and then another move option before that, is already going to give you either one lane definitively or two lanes. And yes, obviously people can run Shang-Chi and there's options there, but people are not running those games because of how these decks are being nerfed and kind of constructed inherently. There are options, like I said, like C4 right now, Cerebro 4 with the complete with the nerfs to both Black Cat and the nerf to Mercury, give that an option to be inside those decks now. With Shadow King, you have Shadow King as an option, you have Mercury as an option for tech decks, and I think that deck specifically is one of the best tech decks in the entire game, and it shouldn't be because of how effective it is at scale and power. And I think that deck is going to probably represent only 5 to 10% of the decks in the Worlds, but I do think it's going to have a very high success rate because of how much it's able to tech within its synergistic style. And then you have obviously Destroy, which is still very prominent. It's going to be very good. And then all the other archetypes that exist, Sauron, all these other archetypes that exist that are going to be present in the world. And that's it. In all this other stuff that we used to have in worlds or competitions or ladders, I think from a competitive perspective, it's just going to go to the wind. You're not going to be able to experiment because these decks that are so efficient, that are so good because new cards come out to enhance them, are going to just be too good for competitive people to not play. And that's kind of where I'm at now with the fun of the game. It's not fun for me. If I cannot experiment, if I cannot feel like I can work around tech because tech is so good that I was like, well, I'm not going to have anything that's above 10 because Shang-Chi's going to, do it. Or I'm not able to play move because Mercury's so good. I'll just play around that. And that's fine by me. That's fun by me. And that's kind of disheartening. So what I've decided to do for Worlds is be very basic. ultimately. I'm going to run a move package. I'm either going to run a C4 package. I'm going to run a Sauron package. I'm either going to run a discard package, a destroy package. I'm going to have, you know, probably very, very few, if any, surprise cards in there. I was going to run Morph. I was going to, you know, be a little bit tricky with some of my other card options, but I don't think I can do that and actually be competitive. And I used to be able to do that and be competitive, which is disheartening to me. Hopefully, after Worlds, they'll get the message with the decks and it being boring and not, you know, I don't know, sporadic or spontaneous enough, and they'll be like, okay, we're gonna put the fun back into the game. I don't know why they've made the decisions that they've made currently. And yes, obviously some things need to be reined back from a tech perspective, but the way they've done this, I do think it's going to adversely affect them. Maybe not monetarily, but from a high level perspective, I think it might. My name is Plazukas. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video. Bye for now.